Okay, so let's take a look at number 3. We have tangent x over sine x. So we want to simplify this. Well, let's start with tangent x. We've been changing that quite a bit. So remember that tangent x is sine over cosine. So we can change tangent into sine x over cosine x. And then we still have sine x on the bottom. Okay, so we have on the top, we have a fraction and then divided by sine x. So we can think of this as fraction divided by a fraction. Okay, and the way we divide fractions is we multiply by the reciprocal. So to divide these fractions, we're going to take that first fraction, sine x, cosine x, and instead of dividing, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of this one. So 1 over sine x. Okay, when we're multiplying fractions, we're allowed to cancel on the diagonals. So those go away. We get 1 over cosine x. And then with the reciprocal identities, 1 over cosine x is secant of x. So that's it. This thing has simplified to secant of x. All right, let's check out number 4. Let's start with the fraction thing, kind of treat it the way we did the last one. Secant x. Using our reciprocal identities, secant is 1 over cosine over sine x. And I'm going to go ahead and put that sine x over 1. Okay, now I know I still have that stuff in parentheses. I'm going to come back to that. Now this is one of those dividing fraction divided by a fraction. So we'll take this first fraction, 1 over cosine, times, instead of dividing, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, 1 over sine x. Okay, I'm just going to leave that alone. Now let's come over here. This thing. 1 minus cosine squared x. Oh yeah. Do you remember our favorite Pythagorean identity? I said it was our favorite, but it really is. It says sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Eventually, as you do more of these, you'll look at this Pythagorean identity, you look at this thing and say, gosh, that looks kind of like the Pythagorean identity, except this one's 1 minus cosine. Is there any way I could change this one so it has 1 minus cosine squared? And you sure could. You could subtract cosine squared from both sides. So that gives us sine squared x equals 1 minus cosine squared x. Okay, so now we have this 1 minus cosine squared x, that is equal to sine x. So we can change this thing in parentheses to just sine squared x. Okay, so this was a form of that Pythagorean identity. So remember that sine squared x, that just means sine x times sine x. That's what's happening here. Those are both over 1. And now we're multiplying all of these fractions. We are allowed to cancel things on the diagonal, so one of those cosines cancel. So on the top, we have sine x, and on the bottom, we have cosine x. And sine x over cosine x is tangent x. So that is our answer. Okay? This whole mess simplified to tangent of x.